Okay, so let's move on. So we've got 1 Samuel 13, 9, starting in 9. It says, and Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an offering, the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, and that he might salute him. And Samuel said, what hast thou done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou comest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto Yahweh. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. Saul. And Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of Yahweh, thy Elohim, which he commanded thee. For now would Yahweh have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. Here's another transference right here. Saul's to David's. Yahweh both sought him a man after his own heart, and Yahweh hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which Yahweh commanded thee. So here's a question that kind of puzzled me for a little bit as I was praying about this. And it came to me pretty quickly because it's obvious. Why could Saul offer a sacrifice and be condemned, losing the kingdom at that moment, but David and all that he did, clearly breaking the letter of the law all over the place, being not condemned, and he was the one promised the sure house? What's the difference? One guy does something you kind of can see, well, that could be a simple mistake. I mean, you know, he just wanted to do it for Yahweh, right? I mean, it was okay. He just did a burnt offering, and really, it's gonna cost him his whole house? But David acted like a fool before the tabernacle of David. In the world's eyes, did all kinds of things to break the letter, tick off the Pharisee system. But he's the one promised the house. Is that kind of just doesn't make sense when you look at it in your mind? The difference is Saul didn't have a key. You know what that key was? The key of David. The key of loving. Saul did not have loving. Saul did not have the fruit of the Spirit that produces something different in your life. And it's obvious. Saul had blood on his hands. And it wasn't, he meant it because he wasn't in love. So the difference is that he had a heart to honor Yah. David did. And so he was honored, just as prophesied by Eli. Saul was for himself doing things by necessity. Samuel would go on to tell Saul that obedience was better than sacrifice, remember? But with David, even though he was breaking the letter, he was loving Yah in spirit and truth, out of a heart to serve and worship him in a relationship, out of loving. The key of David that unlocks the door to the kingdom of heaven is a circumcised heart to serve Yah by spirit, actually to serve Yah and man, by his spirit, which brings forth the mercy and love of Yeshua out of your life. What about David loving the law? What about David loving the law? I mean, we've used that, right, for years. David loved all of the law. Haven't you read Psalms 119? I mean, it's all about David's love for the law. What law did he love? Did he love the letter? Or did he love the royal, Melchizedek, law of covenant? Did he love the relational law of Yahweh? I'm not saying break the law. I'm not saying be a lawbreaker. What I'm saying is there's something higher. There's something now that you've attained to by the Spirit that you'll be accountable for. And that's the royal covenant, the royal Torah. David had that heart. Because how could you think that you read all of 119 and think, well, it's all about David knowing? He didn't even know all the letter of the law, man. He didn't even keep the feast right. So obviously he couldn't be talking about loving all the letters and keeping it perfectly. Because if he was lying to us. Right? So when I read David's Psalms and I see David's heart and I hear what he's saying and what he's crying out to Yahweh, it's out of a different heart than a Levite heart. Or the ones that would answer as slaves back at the golden calf. Before the golden calf. They answered as slaves. And then they responded as slaves. I think that David loved the law of liberty as a sign of what was to come in Messiah. That's why it's the house of David. So it's clear that if you look at we talked about this yesterday. Just a point, they didn't hang out in booths for tabernacles from Joshua until they came back after Babylon. So that means that David wasn't doing it either, or his kingdom. So if you were the king establishing the letter and all the law, you wouldn't have done all the things that David did anyway. So David loved Torah through love, the Torah of life. Yah delights in mercy and is desirous to show us kindness. Isn't this what Yah showed David by not slaying him for all the laws that he broke? Isn't it comforting to know that as you have a heart to obey, even if you're not keeping the feast 100% correctly? Because guess what? Are you willing to go outside right now and take a bullet in your head that this is the exact right Shavuot feast day? I'm not. I mean, not according to the letter. If you get to that point where you're so adamant that you're just I'm going to be hateful because, and I'm going to cut people off and hate them because you do this or that or the other. You say Yeshua, Jesus, whatever. I'm going to hate you for that. Well, then you've obviously missed the whole thing about this book. Okay? Because David didn't keep it 100%, but it was also said of him that he had a heart to please the Father. I want a heart to please the Father. It's not a disobedient heart. It's not a lawless heart. It's a heart to please the Father and put love as the highest law. And there's examples I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit. It came to pass, Matthew 9:10, it came to pass as Yeshua sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why eateth your master with publicans and sinners? Yeshua heard that. He said unto them, They that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. But go ye and learn what that meaneth. And I will have mercy and not sacrifice. For I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. That's what I want to tell folks today. Listen, go on and go read what this says, and I've used it a couple times recently. Do yourself a favor. Go read why Yeshua said what he said to the Pharisees. You go figure that out. Then come back and let's talk. Yeshua ate and touched with the unclean. Time and time again brought the Pharisees to try to expose him as a letter breaker. Didn't they? He is a demon. He's breaking the letter. There are still those Pharisees today trying to place a burden on your neck, demanding you go back to the tabernacle of Moses while trying to stay constantly clean to do so, that they don't even do. Read Acts 15 again. Your fathers couldn't even bear that yoke. Why do you want to take it? You think you're better than them? You think you're going to attain something that they couldn't attain? Because if it was perfect, you could be perfect without Yeshua. He didn't have to come. Thank Yah that he would rather show us mercy and show mercy to the lost than sacrifice to be holy. Again, Yeshua to the Pharisees, using David as an example, comes down at Mark 2:24 through 26. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? Remember, they walking through and picked some grain and ate. They harvested. And he said unto them, Have you never read what David did when he had need and was hungered? Now, notice what he did here. Notice what he didn't do. He didn't defend them that they didn't break the Sabbath rule, did he? He didn't defend that. You could call it what you want to. They harvested some grain and ate it. He didn't defend that they didn't break. Well, they didn't break the Sabbath because you. And that's what I've heard too. Well, that was about the Pharisaical laws of not even. He didn't defend that. He said, "Have you never read what David did? Well, David broke the letter." He says, when he had need and was hungered, he and they that were with him, how when he went into the house of God in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat, but for the priest, and he gave also to them which were with him. Have you not read what David did? He wasn't trying to defend the fact of not harvesting, but he was wanting to show mercy and allowing them to eat when they were hungry, over there not harvesting on the Sabbath at sacrifice. These guys were busy. They were on a mission. They were going somewhere. There was healing to do. There was restoration to speak. There was jubilee to announce. You can't be shackled and sidelined. I mean, if you're in the royal priesthood, are you really going to be shackled and sidelined because you touched a piece of bacon? No, I don't eat bacon. You know what I'm saying? Are you really going to be, do you think you got to go out and hang out until dark now? Where's your sacrifice? Has it already been done, or are you waiting for the evening sacrifice? And if so, where's that going to take place for you? It's not about all that, y'all. It's about moving like the wind and listening to the Spirit and obeying when he breathes. Because love is the highest. So, check this out. This is wild. Do you realize that somewhere between the ark leaving Shiloh and ending up in Jerusalem, things also changed inside the ark? You ever seen that? What are the three things that were inside the ark? Yeah. So how come at the dedication of Solomon's temple, the promised seed that was going to build the sure house of David, as prophesied by Eli, and Aaron's rod and the pot of manna were no longer inside the ark? Because it wasn't. 1 Kings 8:9. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moses put there at Horeb, when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. Aaron's rod's gone. The pot of manna, gone. Why? If they were supposed to be in there, don't you think when someone cracked that box to take that, Yahweh would have struck them dead? Someone was allowed to take them out. Or maybe someone didn't. Maybe he did. I'd like to believe he did. I believe this was also a prophetic picture of when Yah fills our temple by his Spirit, he places the covenant in our heart. He doesn't place Aaron's rod there, because we saw what was prophesied to Aaron's house. Death, gone, it's going to dissolve. Aaron's rod, meaning his strength, his dominion, his rule of that house. He places the covenant. Aaron's rod's not there. We don't go back to his house and the tabernacle of Moses. He does not need to remind us of the bread from heaven. So there's no pot of manna, because guess what? He's just put the real bread from heaven inside of you, and you get to eat it all the time. Why have to go back and go, oh, there's that pot of manna. Boy, that was good. When you eat the living bread every day. Put on Yeshua and eat the bread. Yeshua was the prophesied rod that would grow from David. Remember that? So his rod of authority replaced Aaron's rod. I mean, that makes sense to me when I read it. Because I'm scratching my head and I'm like playing the roll game there in the car going, now see what happened, you know. Some dude snuck in there. Well, see, the Philistines had it. So did the Philistines sneak in there and take that away? Because they wanted to take the rod, you know? I mean, you could make all kinds of stuff up. But I don't think so, because I think Yahweh would have struck him dead if it was really supposed to be in there. And if it was supposed to be in there at this time of the transference, when the Spirit of Yahweh is going to fill this temple, don't you think that he would have stopped him by the Spirit and said, wait a minute, before you dedicate this, we've got to make sure we get the rod back in there and find the pot of manna. Zechariah 4:6-9. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of Yahweh unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith Yah of hosts. Who art thou, O great mountain, before Zerubbabel, that shalt become a plain? This great system, this world system, this great mountain, this great kingdom. Therefore, Zerubbabel, thou shalt become a plain. And he shall bring forth the headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, Grace, grace unto it. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it. And thou shalt know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me to you. At the dedication of the second temple, as they laid the foundation, Yah told them that this was the continuation of the house of David. That he would complete this by his Spirit, though. Yeshua being the chief cornerstone, we are now the stones placed into this house. But it will not be complete until Yeshua caps it as the headstone. Remember, he's the author and finisher of our faith. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. This being done by Zerubbabel in the flesh. Now, who was Zerubbabel? Huh? Yeah, but what was he officiating in or as? He was a descendant of David. He was basically the governor back there when they came back in. He wasn't the king officially, but he was a governor, acting as the king. He being a descendant of David, though, and as governor, represents the house of David. So this is obviously not, he would obviously not be alive when Yeshua caps it, would he? So he's given you, again, a fulfillment, a prophetical look at the fulfillment of this house that will be capped. That's Yeshua. Zerubbabel starts it. They're laying the foundation of this temple, but somewhere along the laying the foundation physically and the capping it, when Yeshua comes, there's a transference from flesh to spirit. Do you see that? Because Yeshua's not going to come and be a capstone at a physical temple, is he? And Zerubbabel's not going to be alive when the capstone is on it. So, this is carried on by guess whom? You and I today. We're carrying this on in a royal priesthood. It's been laid the foundation at that day with a great shouting. It was a Yom Teruah. And guess what? We're still building. That's the good news of the kingdom. The 3 measures of meal placed in the kingdom, and we're being risen like Messiah. So, this is carried on by us. By those who walk by Yah's Spirit, as the builders of this house, we are co-laborers with Yeshua. That's what that means, co-laborers. We're laboring. But we don't labor alone, do we? So, you're only able to do that by the key of David, which is having Yah's Spirit. Isn't this the reality of what Peter was revealing by the Spirit in 1 Peter 2, 4 through 10? When he says, to whom coming is unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, the stone the builders rejected, but chosen of Elohim and precious, ye also as lively stones. You as not a real stone, I know I'm not a stone, but I'm a lively spiritual stone, built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Yeshua. Wherefore also it is contained in the Scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Even so to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should do what? You should show forth on your breastplate out of your heart the lights and the perfections by the Spirit. As a priest, a royal priesthood. That you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. How do you show forth the praises of him who's called you out of darkness into his marvelous light? Yeah, but you're shining the light. His marvelous light's not coming out of you. It's being delivered to people around you. Lives are going to change. It says, and then when in times past we're not even a people, but now are the people of Elohim, which had not even obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. That is us, if you'll hear it by the Spirit. That is you, if you'll take it by the Spirit. That's not, you can't understand it physically. It doesn't make sense physically. Oh yeah, Wally, you're a stone. Oh, I'm a stone. People laugh at me. I've got people that really, they laugh at me. They say, oh, you're trying to spiritualize everything. And they laugh, and they say, you can't, that's stupid. You're not a stone. Well, yeah, but you don't have spiritual eyes, you'll never see it. When the Word promises me that I have full access, and I'm seated in the heavenly places with my Messiah, it's been done. Now, obviously, I don't see myself. I don't astral project into the temple like some of the false prophets today are writing books about. They have open access, and they go have spirit walks up into heaven. That's bogus. If they're telling you that, you better throw the book away and run. But what I'm telling you is this. I don't see that, but I fully understand it right in here, and it's been settled right in here and right in here, that I'm not dirty before him. I have full access. I walk in as a little kid. Even when I stumble and I sin, all right, I get angry. I do things that aren't becoming but like my father. But he's right there every time. I love you, man. I love you, son. I love you. Come on back in. It doesn't stop my access to him. He doesn't say, get out of here. Get out of here, you filthy, dirty sinner. Go cleanse yourself and sit down for 7 days outside of here until I get a priest to come out and look at you. You scab-faced, scab-headed dude. Hallelujah. So Scriptures come alive only when you can understand it by the Spirit. It's not going to come alive to you in the flesh. It won't make sense. You'll argue about it all your life, and you'll end up with a bunch of other people that cannot see it, who are actually going to do what they think they have to do, stay in the physical realm, and have a real blood animal sacrifice at a physical temple, and do all that junk. Because right now that is junk. Because if you do something that you're not supposed to do, it's basically worshiping Yah's enemy. Even though you're saying you're doing it for him. You see how dangerous that is? I'm doing it for him. Well, Saul, it cost him his kingdom. Boom. Yeshua is the stone the builders of society rejected, and he allows us to also come to him as a living stone placed into a spiritual house, the house of David, where we offer up spiritual sacrifices as a holy priesthood, acceptable to Yah through Yeshua, although we're not Levites. This one's disobedient that threw him out. The ones disobedient that threw him out were being disobedient to the royal Torah. When I see that, that's what I see. The ones being disobedient that are thrown out of that building are disobedient to the royal Torah. Because David wasn't thrown out when he broke the letter, was he? He was a son. But if he would have had a heart change and started breaking the royal Torah and not been called loving anymore, he'd have been taken out of the house. We are the chosen generation, a royal priesthood. We are not the people who were once not Yah's people. Or we are, I'm sorry. We're now his people because of his mercy. A people that were not a people. I don't know. If that doesn't excite you, how great a salvation, man. You weren't a people. You were a done. You just deserved death. I mean, you were the tribe that was out in the hills that you started shaking in your boots when Israel was coming to town. Because you know that Yah said you're going to annihilate them all. Everybody dead. That's where I lived. And I'd have been sitting there going, uh-oh, they're coming to town. We got to do something. Honey, what are we going to do? Let's fool them. Let's act like we just came from a far-off country that's not their enemy. Let's see if they'll make covenant with us. Well, that's what I'd have been doing. I'd have been a Gibeonite. I'd have fooled them. But thank you, I don't have to fool anybody. Because now he says, come on, man, you're my son, even you. And it seems like Paul agrees with what Peter just says, because in Ephesians 2:18, it says, for through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Jew and Gentile, both. Now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints, and of the household of Elohim, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yeshua HaMashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly joined together groweth unto a holy temple in Yahweh, in whom you also are builded together for an habitation of God through the Spirit. So you're going to make fun of me for saying I'm just spiritualizing it? You're making fun of him. He's the one that did it. He's the one that said it. He's the one that says, I'm going to be in the New Jerusalem coming down from heaven. He's the one that said it. He's the one that said that he's put his temple, I'm the temple of the Holy Spirit, that he's put his Spirit in me. He's the one that said it. You're going to say I'm usurping a priesthood, usurping whatever, a tabernacle? Oh, no, my friends. He said it. The difference with me is I believe it. So you get mad at me, I believe it. That's the only difference. I believe it. You believe it. So that's why, people would get upset with you because you believe what the Word says. So, hey, you're in good company because so did his apostles believe what the Word said, and they all went and died for him except, John, but it's a whole long story. So, both Israel and foreigners are one new man, both having the same access through the tabernacle of David by Yah's Spirit. Because you couldn't have access in the tabernacle of Moses. I could not come, and you could not come in that tabernacle, and we get that. I'm belaboring the point, I know, because you know why? His Spirit, by His Spirit, you really need to get this in your brain this weekend. Because why? You're going to be going back out to where your faith's going to be tested. Around people that are going to test your faith, trying to shake your faith, trying to become spots in your love feast, secret reefs as they smile to you. And they say they love you, trying to subvert your household. Do you understand that there are people that are used by the enemy's spirit to constantly come across your path and deceive you and to use you? We're in spiritual warfare, man. This is not a funny game. You just can't think, well, take everybody at face value. You need the Spirit to be able to discern what's going on. And if you don't have proper discernment, you better pray that He gives you that. That's why with me it's real serious with my associations. I'm not trying to be rude. But my associations and who I sit my kids under to hear, if they're spouting something that's doctrines of a demon, that falls back on me. If my child one day grows up and they walk away from the faith, like I've seen many in the Hebrew roots community in Messianic Judaism, wow, you've caused a little one to stumble. I don't want that in my house. I cry, and we cry and pray for our children. We want our children to all come into the household of David, household of Yeshua. So why would I suffer for one moment to stick my sons into somebody that's, say, be physically circumcised and do all the letter of the law? Not for one moment. My daughters would never date a guy, ever. My daughters have a covenant with their dad. My daughters all have a ring on their finger that I placed on it. We signed a covenant together. You want to date my daughters? You'll never get there through the tabernacle of Moses, not through the, no. I take this pretty serious. And I hope you do too. That's why I just don't, I don't go through willy-nilly through life just accepting associations. You know, at one point I was kind of new and kind of ignorant, so I went to different Sukkot, but not anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to just go set up a camp anywhere with anybody, because there's some things with me that are non-negotiables. One is, you deny my Messiah, you're not my brother. Period. Why would I suffer for one moment to be with you or to bring you into my home, into my inner circle, when you've denied the Father, the Son, you've denied the Father? Not for one moment. I'll love you, I'll pray for you, I'll cry for you. But you won't come into the inner circle of the Hoffman house, because I take it serious. Because if my kids are deceived by that and they walk away from the faith, what would I do for eternity? You better start thinking eternal. Because this is not, I'm getting older every day, and so are you. And you're not promised tomorrow. So, both Israel and the foreigners are now one new man, both having the same access through the tabernacle of David, which is through Yah's Spirit. We're being placed into the house of Yah, placed upon the foundation of the apostles and the prophets, Yeshua being the chief cornerstone. Wouldn't this look odd to Pharisees? It'd look like a peculiar people here. We'd be men and women wondered at, wouldn't we? They'd be scratching their heads and arguing about it all the time. Who are these guys? What do they think they're doing? Give me a break. But now we're being grafted into the house and adopted as sons, and we can also consider ourselves sons of David. Remember, you're a son of David. I'm an SOD. I am not the son of a gun. That brings death. You son of a gun? No, I'm not. The gun kills somebody. I'm a son of love, son of David. I might have to make a t-shirt. Kind of like the women's circumcision t-shirt. I've been circumcised. Ask me how. With an arrow pointing. People going, what? So we see a prophetic picture of this royal priesthood in operation if we go to 2 Samuel 8:15 through 18. And David reigned over all of Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab the son of Zeruiah was over the host, and Jehoshaphat the son of Elihud was recorder, and Zadok the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech the son of Abiathar were the priest, and Sariah was the scribe, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada was over both the Cherethites and the Pelethites. And David's sons were chief priests. You look at that word, it's Cohen. They were chief priests. You can look up anything you want to on this word in any translation. The Hebrew word here is not ruler, it's priest. It's Cohen. Wait a minute. David's dynasty, really? So David had high priest. His sons were high priest? That's what the word says. But I bet if I consult the Talmud long enough, I'm going to be talked out of that by some really high-minded, smart Mishnah reading rabbi who has no spirit of life in him at all. because he hates my Messiah. But that's why I would never suffer myself for an hour to have that man in my house teaching me the Talmud that goes against the Word. I would never buy their book and sit on some video Skype thing and let you teach me the Talmud and pay you money for it to boot. But people do. So here we are, sons of David, in a commission with Yeshua, acting as a spiritual priest upon the earth. And I bet some of the Levitical priesthood didn't like seeing David's sons acting as priests, huh? I mean, boy, that was promised to them. So now, but what are they going to say? It's the king's sons, right? What am I going to say? I mean, your kid wants a shirt? You used to give him a shirt? Okay, you can have a shirt, man. I'd love to have been there and see the faces, though. David's sons acting as a priest. Them going, all right. You got to smile, though, man. Smile, smile. Isaiah 9:7, of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it, to establish it with judgment and with justice, from henceforth even forever. The zeal of Yahweh of hosts will perform this. He will perform it. He is performing it. This is what Messiah has done, sitting upon the throne of David, to order it and establish it. The priestly order of Melchizedek has been ordered and established by Yah himself, out of his zeal to restore a people back to himself. He ordered it. When you look at a priestly order, it's an order. It's established. We are an order. We're an order. We're an order of priests. We've been ordered. We have orders. So don't let anybody put you back under the law, because the spirit of blindness that took Eli's sight will eventually lead you to deny Yeshua too. If I was Satan, I would deceive you by the word. I'd confuse you to believing that all the law was for you to carry out today, because I know you can't do it. And I would lead you away from the understanding of the spiritual kingdom, keeping you week after week in the first 5 books of Moses, every Shabbat. And then afterwards, I'd have a Talmudic midrash with you for 3 to 5 hours. And we would just delve into what the rabbis say, trying to find a consensus, the consensus being we're taking your mind away from Yeshua and giving you the mind of the Talmud. When you come to consensus with that, there'll be peace among your midrash group. But when you don't, there's no peace with your midrash group. This will only cause the light of Messiah in you to grow dim, and then with some be extinguished altogether. And they become cold-hearted Pharisees with a nice-looking cup, but full of wickedness and death. Number 2, kind of a second point. You should also not be listening to anyone telling you to prepare to be under the Levitical order. It's already been clearly done away with. If they're telling you to go to a third temple, Scripture never instructs us to. If they're telling you to move back to Israel right now, go work for the Zionist state, do whatever, join them, go live in a kibbutz, be a communist. I hope you can see through that. The tabernacle of David has replaced the temple of Solomon, as shown in Acts 15, and physically with its destruction in 70 AD, physically destroyed. Why would you want to leave this spiritual kingdom for the Antichrist deception? Why would you want to go back to Moses' tabernacle, or even go forward and go to Solomon's? Because wasn't Solomon's the type of the Antichrist? He was the Anti-Messiah. He brought in all the world's religions together, married them, had covenant with them, brought them all in and deceived the sons of Israel. Here's the true house of David, Isaiah 56. For thus saith Yahweh unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to Yahweh, to serve him and to love the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, every one that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant, even them will I bring into my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. What? The eunuch that keeps the Sabbath? Yahweh, which gathereth the outcast of Israel, saith, Yet will I gather others to him besides those that are gathered unto him. Welcome Outcast of Israel. Welcome. That's not the true house of David. To lighten it up a little bit, I was trying to find a picture of the house of David, and I found these guys. This was the House of David baseball team. And what this was that this was a cult a little over 100 years ago, and they all decided to try to look like David. So they all grew out their hair really pretty, and they kind of look like some of my Hebrew Roots gatherings I've been to. But they were the house of David. They looked righteous, and so what happened to these guys is they run around the country and they started making a bunch of money looking like Davids, and so they were making a bunch of money playing baseball tournaments. Right? They did it for like 30 years. They'd have two different House of David baseball teams traveling, barnstorming across the country, and it was a novelty. People went out and looked at these guys with long hair playing baseball, saying they're Davids. Guys, the son of David, that's not the son of David. Don't be duped by people that look like or have a look and appearance that they're Davids. Because if it looks like an Israelite, it must be an Israelite? No. It's not about looks, man. The true house of David is here. The true tabernacle of David is here. Looks can be deceiving. And so can propaganda. So can your news reports. So can your newspapers. Someone's paid to give you the stories you read. Do you want the truth? It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you friends. It's going to cost you fellowship. You'll be alone a lot, like we are. And you'll look for the feast days, because you're going to be with the true body of Messiah, who's not falling for the junk that's going on in the land. Because the counterfeit's there, and it comes first. Before all that can be promised, all that was promised to us can be fulfilled, the counterfeit has to come first. Think about it. I'm begging my friends that are running off at the Ephraimite congresses, thinking they're going to go join the Likud party, doing worldwide biblical Zionists, funneling money to Israel. I'm begging them, would you look at it? Would you just look at it? Is that really what you're supposed to do? Can you show me in Scripture where that's what you do? Anywhere?